Hi, welcome to my channel, and today I have Welsh dragons. Real quick, if you're noticing the clown brand music in the background, that was written by my husband DJ. He wrote it for the starting soon for my stream, and I'm not really streaming super a whole lot anymore, but you know, it occurred to me that, hey, I have this really awesome custom music and I could use that instead of the royalty-free stuff, which is fine, but also disorienting when you see ads for like free apps and they use the royalty-free music. So yeah, Cherry Brand music written by Awesome Husbando. So these Welsh dragons, I made a bunch because Baban was holding a contest for Welsh dragon illustration things. And I had a bunch of ideas and I couldn't decide which idea I liked best, so I just did all of them. And I'll apologize in advance. I thought I recorded all of the coloring process for this, but I didn't. So I have up to the line art for this particular dragon, and I'll just show the finished product at the end. Whoops. This new software I'm using, you have to actually turn on the time-lapse feature, whereas when I was using Procreate, it did it by itself, so I kind of dropped the ball on that. So this first dragon was sort of supposed to be inspired by How to Train Your Dragon, and I don't really think I hit the mark. I think that in order for me to have gotten something that was instantly recognizable as How to Train Your Dragon, I would have had to draw one of the pre-existing dragon models and then reskin it to be Welsh, and I didn't really... That's not as fun to me. And I actually don't have a lot of experience drawing dragons, so I was having a lot of trouble distinguishing looking at a reference of a Welsh dragon and then trying to stylize it. So to put this one together, I actually drew a dragon first, and then I tried to come back in with some of the design elements of How to Train Your Dragon. I think it's more inspired than it is a successful rendition of a How to Train Your Dragon model, but you know, I'm okay with it. I actually kind of like how this one turned out. Like, I was really surprised how much I liked it. A little less impressed with it now. I think I've done some better things. This was my first attempt at drawing a dragon, so and one thing that I like about all these different ones that I drew was I had different ideas for how they should be finished, so my art process was essentially the same, but like for this one I used thinner lines than I did on the next dragon, and there was a reason for it. So I have to say that I feel better about how I'm thinking about doing art, because I'm at least trying to do something different. And yeah, so just skipping straight into this boy, because genius me forgot to record coloring. This dragon was inspired by Sonic the Hedgehog art style, because I've been reading the old Archie Sonic comics and they're super cool. So I wanted to make a Sonic Welsh dragon. And again, I don't even know if this is actually super recognizable as Sonic the Hedgehog character, but I kind of liked how the design looked anyway. So like I was saying, my thinking for how to finish this was kind of the same, but like I used different techniques to set it apart from my other designs. So I used thicker lines for this one because it was meant to be based off Sonic the Hedgehog, which is way more cartoony and, you know, more comic styled. Thick lines save lives. Okay, that's enough of that. But yeah, and I also tried to be more dynamic with the pose because I was more confident in doing something like this. Because it's simpler and more, I guess, closer to how I kind of draw anyway. And I was okay with this being a little bit more cel shady than the other one because, again, it's more comic style, but I have a really bad tendency to overblend my shadows as it is anyway. One thing that I did that was really fun was I used a chalk brush to add in like scaly texture. And I like how that kind of worked. I think I could have gone a little bit heavier with it, but I'm not super dissatisfied with it. I know that was one thing that I have determined that with my art style that I would like to improve is I noticed that I use a lot of solid lines and I overblend my shadows. A lot of the issues I have tend to be lack of confidence in the lines and stuff that I put down. So I'm looking into like more textury brushes and different ways of shading. Probably not for my comic, but just like other illustrations that I'm doing. Oh, one cool thing that I was doing with the wings was I'm trying to be more conscious of subsurface scattering. So for like the fins and the wings, I tried to hit it hard with like the glow and overlap it with the shadows a little bit so that it looked more like light was coming through instead of them just being lit. So this is the Sonic Dragoo. That's my Welsh, by the way. And now we're moving on to my masterpiece, which I also forgot to start sketching or recording at the beginning of the sketch. Yeah, so it's not I don't really feel like it's my art if I don't draw a buff boy at some point anymore. So I had big plans for this guy. I wanted to work on my muscle anatomy and I wanted to use new brushes. So I used a super textury brush and at first I was super uncomfortable, but the more I drew with it, the more I liked it. And I knew that it was gonna change the way I had to color because it's like if you look at it, you can see space. Like it's not a solid line. Yay. I'm immature. I'm so sorry. I have to giggle at the nips a little bit. And grown ass woman, by the way. I lost my train of thought. I played myself. Oh yeah. So I knew the bucket fill. God, I do art, guys. I know that the autofill paint bucket tool, whatever the crap you call it, wasn't gonna work the same way because the lines are not solid, so they're gonna bleed through. So the best way I could think of to color this one was to select all of the outside, like the negative space around the figure, and invert it and fill it with the main color, which was the red. And then I had to go back in and manually do the details, which was fine. This one ended up taking the longest because I tried a lot of new things with it. It didn't actually feel like it took that long, but I do like how typically I will lock my line art layer and go in and change the colors. But the cool thing about the lines not being solid was when I selected the outside and then filled the shape that was, I inverted it and filled that main shape. It added color to the lines just slightly. So I liked that didn't make the figure so... It just gives it a little bit of a different look. I'm not good at talking my way through these things. I'm trying. I'm not good at describing. And then the other thing I was trying to work on was color and being a little bit more contrasty. I changed the color of the fins from the previous two, and the plates on the legs. I just sort of felt like they weren't contrasting enough, so I tried to make them a little bit darker, and I don't know if they're more or less saturated. The flesh tones on the chest disturbed a lot of people. I didn't want to use the tan that was on the wings, and I didn't want to use the pink that was on the tongue, just because I felt like they weren't contrasting enough. So I was like, I'll just use like a darker color for the chest or something. And I used like an orangey color, but a lot of people were like, oh, it's fleshy. And I think I'm okay with that. You know, take your victories where you can, I guess. It's so funny looking at it now. I did like blending it with that chalk brush as well. I didn't want to make the colors too smooth, so I tried to make it look like a scaly type of blend, and I kind of liked how that turned out. This probably isn't even that cursed, but I can't help but laugh. Oh, right, shading. Again, I have played myself losing my own train of thought. So typically when I do the shading, I will block it down, and then I use my handy dandy smudgy brush and I blend it out to make the shadow more smooth. And that's exactly what it does, is it makes it very smooth. So instead what I wanted to do was I took a textured eraser, and instead of blending out, I blended back so that the shadows had a little bit more texture, and it kind of gave it a different sort of blend style. I don't know if I'm super happy with that. I'm gonna keep working on it, but it's better. I also, Baban sent me a lot of textures to overlay in my drawings in the future, so that's something I'm gonna try. I was gonna try it with this, but I needed to switch the files from JPEG to PNG or something like that. Maybe the file was just too big. I don't know. Autodesk was like, I don't get it. Autodesk tries. It has its ups and its downs. I think I do like it overall better than Procreate, though, just because like I can pretty much do the entire comic in Autodesk. The only thing that I can't do is do the fonts, and technically I can do the font. It's just that Metabang has the font that I like better, so I just switch over to that instead. But yeah, this is my buff dragonkin Welsh dragon. He's wonderfully cursed, and I want to continue making more things like this in the future. Yeah, Yep, that's really all I have to say about that. I'm not even gonna hint to what's coming in the future. Thank you for watching. There's links in the description for all of my art stuff. There's links to The Great Zazzle on Tapas. If you want to support the comic, the best thing you could do is subscribe. It takes 5 minutes if you don't have an account. And the other thing is Patreon. It's officially active. I actually have exclusive YouTube videos on Patreon right now and some bonus content for the comic. So if you'd like to support that, please feel free, but also don't feel obligated. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!